John New again, Refinishing, coming to you on a Tuesday, and as you might have seen in the pics earlier, it is top coat day, which means we are putting our paint on our double primed doors and drawers. But before we do that, we have to sand everything. You guys know the drill. You got to give it a good physical bond for it to hang on to. So I'm going through doing my flat sanding, and I've got all my doors done, flat sanded. I still got to do the contours. See how they're shiny in there? Still got to sand all that, wipe all the dust off. Got all the doors done. So I'm going through my drawer fronts, and what we don't want to see is any yellowing on the white. Anybody that's painted anything wood, especially oak, especially dark, once you break through that clear coat and you start putting white stuff on top of that, if it's not the right white stuff, you're going to have bleed through or that dye migrating through your primer or you paint. I hope you prime if you paint. If you don't, you're doing it wrong. So these are double primed. The doors and drawers that we have done, we primed those for the second time yesterday after we got done siliconing those seams. But today you should see no yellowing or very little yellowing. Very little yellowing, not concerned about, because I'll have two catalyzed top coats on top of them, which basically will ensure that that yellow it's done. It's not coming through any farther. So I have it kind of in my mind, like, this is too much yellowing, and that's fine. It'll pass because I know that my top coat will get it. But when I run in, like if I run into this, where's this one right here that has very little yellowing on that, if any. I mean, right in here, just real faint. I know that two catalyzed at 10% top coats is going to make that not come through anymore. And by catalyzed, I mean it's got the hardener mixed into it. Basically, I mix up in a 2-quart pot. I mix my paint and my primer in a 2-quart pot, and 10% of that will actually be the hardener that I mix in, and it also controls the yellowing, keeps it trapped down underneath. But when I see yellowing like this, and that's borderline, but it gets to the point where you got to ask yourself, am I really willing to take the chance of putting a top coat on that and having that yellow come through there? My answer is no. It'd be no if it was mine, and it would definitely be no if it's yours. So what we like to do is we use a shellac primer on top of this. Not a lot. We don't spray it. We don't want to use a lot. This stuff, it's Zinsser bin shellac is what it is. Not the advanced stuff, big difference, Zinsser bin shellac. So I have 2 catalyzed coats on here right now. I have light sanded this, and what I want to do, and I just light sanded it because I don't want to cut into that yellowing too much because I don't want to give it more of a reason to come through my catalyzed coats. Otherwise, I'm just undoing what I just did the past 2 days. So what I like to do is I like to take my flocked foam roller, and I have a jug, and I've poured this out of a 5-gallon jug. That's why it has no label. But I just like to, and it's like water. It's super, super thin stuff, okay? And I just like to take just a little bit, and it honestly looks yellow when you put it on. And then especially when it dries, you're gonna be like, dude, why are you putting more yellow stuff when you're trying to get rid of yellowing? It's just the way it is. So this is shellac based, just like the stuff on your lady's fingernails, your fingernails. So we'll just take a little bit, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna roll it on down the front. And just real light coat. And the reason we want to do real light coats is because we just want to trap that down. We just want to trap it underneath that thin coat. We don't need to pound it full of this shellac. We don't need to have another thick primed surface. It does not require that. It does not require anything like that. As soon as I get these little flakes out of here. So that's it. We're going to leave it, set it thin right there. And this stuff dries. This will, no kidding, be dry in about 3 minutes probably. Dry enough to sand. That's how fast it is. We'll wait a little bit longer just because we're not in a hurry. But you can see that it is kind of trapped back behind there. When this dries, there's no way that tannin bleed's coming back through there. It's not going to come through that shellac. And the reason we don't use this as our primary primer is because it's brittle. It dries real brittle. And in areas where you have a lot of flex or moisture and stuff like that, where it could potentially get down into that, this is gonna chip, it's gonna crack, you're gonna have issues. It's gonna look like, you know what it's gonna look like. I try to keep clean on my business page. It's not gonna look very good. So we got a thin coat of that shellac. It's already drying. Stuff's pretty impressive. But you don't wanna use this in large quantities on your kitchen or anywhere where there's moisture, or it's gonna get there's movement or anything, because it's gonna chip. And if your primer chips, what do you think is gonna happen to your top coat? It's going bye-bye too. So we'll let this real thin coat dry. Like I said, it'll be a couple minutes. We'll set off to the side. By the time we get through sanding the rest of our drawer fronts, the flats, and get going on our contours of our doors, this will be dry enough to sand. We'll just, we put it on real smooth. With the Whiz Flox rollers, it goes on and almost dries like glass. I mean, if you want a smooth surface, the Whiz Flox is the way to go. Made for cabinetry and stuff like that if you want a smooth surface. So we'll get this light sanded, and then we'll get it all wiped down. And once we get all the sanding done, we'll get all the dust wiped off, and we'll be ready to top coat. Get 2 coats of catalyzed paint on there, catalyzed 10%, and any minimally yellowed doors or drawer fronts, it is sure to trap. And the one that's covered in the light coat of shellac on this drawer front, won't even be able to tell there was an issue. Also, where you guys see those hardware holes? Nope, that's because we did such a good job filling them. I'll catch y'all once these are all sanded, once they're all dusted, and once they are hit with their first top coat, just to show you how magnificent this Benjamin Moore Cool Gray is gonna look. And that's not white, it's not white, it's Benjamin Moore Cool Gray. Looks amazing. I'll catch y'all later once they're cool gray.
How you like that?